Hey, Ryan,
Yes, Andrew.
you want to talk about video games?
Do you want to talk about video games?
Not really. You want to talk about anime?
Okay.
Fuck yeah!
Everyone's going to hate us. Welcome back to the Explosion of Happiness, episode number 54. It is October 13th, 2016. It's time to be happy and talk about video games. The end is near. We'll all be dead soon. The apocalypse is coming today. I am your host, Ryan.
And I'm your host, Andrew, and I think you're overreacting.
I don't think so. I think this podcast is never going to go up because my whole apartment's going to be ripped out of the ground and we're going to get sucked up into the sky, and that's going to be it. It'll be the ultimate explosion of happiness.
I don't think 20 mile per hour winds is strong enough to do that, but...
Okay, it'll be strong enough to knock over a tree, knock out my power lines, leave me without video games for 4 days, and then I'll get so fucking bored, I'll just start killing people, and then I'll go to jail for murder, and then I'll hang myself in my jail cell. So this will be the final episode of the Explosion of Happiness podcast.
Very likely scenario.
Yes.
So with that in mind, let's make this a blast.
Okay.
So Ryan, you do anything fun this week besides be massively depressed and stare at your wall for hours on end?
No, I played Unreal Tournament for like a couple hours, but that's it. And I got nothing to say about that I haven't already said, which is it's fun and it's free, so no one has any reason not to play it.
I have it loaded on my machine, so this weekend maybe. Sunday, maybe, if we still have power.
I doubt we'll have power. Sure, I guess. Think of Quake Live, except just right now, everyone playing it is kind of at the same level. Everyone's like trying it out for the first time, and there's a lot of bots mixed in with the matches, so you kind of get to learn the game at your own pace. Although I played with a few really good people, but it's been fun regardless of how good the people I face are, and I've been getting better. It's still a fast-paced arena shooter, but it's not as crazy as like Quake Arena. It's a little more grounded than that. So it's kind of a nice level for people like me who don't want to invest their entire lives getting good at something because I'll never be good at anything.
That's actually really nice to hear, because I'm kind of in the same part where I don't want to spend hours on a game that isn't Final Fantasy 14. Trying to get better at a game, because every minute I'm away from Final Fantasy 14, I start to feel sick and ill.
I think you're going to end up being one of those guys on those documentaries about people who ruin their lives over MMOs.
I'm already that person. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, I expect when you get your new house, you'll move in, and one day, like, a camera crew will just go in there, and you'll be, like, naked, and you'll spaz out and start, like, throwing fecal matter at them, and there'll be, like, jars of piss all along the walls. And they'll be like, you haven't showed up to work for weeks. What the fuck is going on? This is an intervention. And then, I don't know, you'll just have, like, a pistol loaded, and you'll just try to, like, kill everybody, and it'll turn into a struggle, and you'll be famous on the internet.
Yeah, that's what I always wanted.
You'll have all these amazing, highly sophisticated and charmingly charismatic YouTubers making roasting videos of how dumb you are. It'll just light up the world with positivity.
I love those people. I love that they exist. They make the world a better place by being around.
I can't help but watch the shit. And it's the same trap that people fall into with reality TV. No one actually enjoys reality TV. I mean, I'm sure there's some really dumb people, but everyone watches reality TV to feel good about themselves and to look down on the people that they're watching. Specifically, like things like Keeping with the Kardashians and things that involve like really rich people and stuff like that. Just really smug lives and like spoiled kids and stuff.
I've also noticed that they just, in general, really, really like drama. So that's another big reason why they watch is because they want to, like your survivors and stuff. They want to know what's going to happen next kind of thing.
I only know about anything because they keep showing up in my recommended feeds, and I just can't help but be like, what the fuck is this even about? So I know about all this drama between this big YouTuber named Leafy is here and Keemstar, and now all I
know about both of them is they're both utter garbage. So
yeah, I know. Everyone's throwing their hat in the ring and making roasting videos, and everyone's like reverse roasting each other. And I've heard the terminology of internet war being thrown around. It's spectacular, and I'm so glad that I was not born in the generation that's eating this up, and that I'm just old enough to look at this and go, holy fucking shit, I can't wait to die.
You're literally like right on the edge of being, if you were 2 years younger, you might love this shit.
These are the most popular channels on YouTube, and this is what people are choosing to watch and support. So if it's true that we're all to be replaced by machines and put into a matrix, that's probably for the best of this planet. And maybe the machines we create will go on in the better parts of our image to thrive. And I'll be dead by then.
I cannot wait to be in a machine.
Maybe
it's going to be so much better.
Maybe we could have our consciences preserved in an ark and brought along for the ride, and then we'll just live on infinitely as different copies of ourselves.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It does. I think that's enough for the opening podcast depressing banter for this week. Would you like to go into my first thing I was going to talk about?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so 2 days ago was CitizenCon 2016. Did you see or watch or read anything about it?
Oh, I completely forgot about it. But, I did hear that the game is getting delayed or something like that again.
Yes, I watched the first 3/4 of the conference. I want to correct an error I made when I said, I think it was episode 48, I said that there is sort of a cult surrounding the hatred for Chris Roberts in this game, and the skepticism has kind of gotten out of control, and now it's like, I don't know who to believe, or if it's all just passion left and right, and no one really knows what the fuck they're screaming about. I was wrong. The skeptics are actually fully in the right to be judgmental of everything coming from this game now, because the people backing it are the actual cult. And I didn't realize how true this was. I thought that was like an over-exaggeration, but when I watched the first 15 minutes of this conference, it was like watching a Scientology indoctrination video. It was like the Unitologists from Dead Space. They showed this montage of how the community has changed everybody's lives and how it's bringing people together and living for a better purpose through this game, and how it's just creating so many good things and how it's changing so many lives. And look at all this money we're raising. Look how amazing this is. Keep throwing money at it. Keep the dream alive. It's bigger than anything ever. It's full of all of our hopes as humanity. And it just kept going and going and going. And I'm like, when are they going to talk about the game? And finally, after like 15 minutes, then they started talking about this social media network that they're starting up for the game and how they're like revolutionizing forums for the game, for the community. I didn't even know. Apparently, the guilds that are already forming for the game are creating their own lore and are communicating on the forum and sort of like establishing the continuity of the universe. And I think they kind of implied that they're actually integrating that into the game story. So
I think that's cool.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's really impressive, but I just can't help but think, I think Derek Smart is onto something when he kept saying that this is a con and they're just trying to make as much money as they can. They're not actually spending all of it on gameplay development. It's just becoming this thing where it's like they're just dragging it out way longer than it needs to be, and they're just trying to suck everybody dry. I'm starting to feel that way. But anyway, I mean, to go...
The counter argument to that I've read is that the reason why it feels like they're dragging everything out is because they're being very transparent about the production. What's been released so far aren't release dates. They're like internal objective dates. Like, we want this done by this date. And a lot of times those internal objectives aren't ever publicly released, except in this case. And they get delayed all the fucking time in gaming. So whenever we say, oh, we're not going to be able to finish the first-person shooter element, like any other game, you wouldn't get that news. You wouldn't know that's happening. So that's unique to Star Citizen. So that's why it feels like it's being drawn out and taking longer than it should. Also, it's probably feeling that way, too, because they keep giving the game so much more press coverage, like CitizenCon, instead of just trying to release the fucking game, which... honestly, I think they should probably try and focus more on just trying to release the fucking game. It sounds like they have enough money. So I kind of get the argument of it is a con, because trying to do shit like that, you do it because you want more money.
I mean, I'll say they're doing a decent job with being transparent. They are communicating. These conventions every year are really great, and at least Chris is talking. He's setting the goals, and that's the important thing. He's setting goals that people will be able to judge the game by, whether it meets them or not. After they were talking about the social media thing, I think Chris came out and he went over their goals and what they're striving to create and how much depth is going to be in the game, and they announced a new form of gameplay integrated into it, which is farming. The game is now going to have farming.
So you can go down to like a planet and build a farm?
Basically. You can make farm resources.
That's actually cool, because something that's really cool about like Warhammer 40K is they developed lore, and part of the lore is, they have these massive armies and you have to feed these massive armies. So they have like literal planets that are just called agri-planets that are nothing but like farms. So I think it's cool that they're thinking like that far ahead and kind of making it part of the gameplay.
Yeah, and he said that the reason they did it was because a surprising number of people really, really, really wanted it, so that's why they're doing it. For every delay this game has, there's always an entire new thing they're tacking onto it, and that's all it's ever been since the start. And that's why it's like, at this point, I really wish they would just start wrapping up the production and put something out, and then they can release expansions if they want to. But the way they're making it sound is that they're still in the early stages of developing the game, and they just want to keep making it bigger. So they keep laying out more plans and then keep designing the framework around these larger plans they have. And it makes me just wonder how long until this game actually comes out, because the amount of shit coming out, like, it doesn't sound like it's going to be anywhere close to done. It's definitely not coming out this year. I mean, they did say that they're rolling back the release date, and there is no confirmed release date. And Chris stated multiple times in his presentation, I'm not going to say when this is going to be done because I get ripped apart every time I say something like that. But it's like, you're not even giving an idea. It just doesn't seem like there is any endpoint set for this entire project yet. It's just this non-stop dream game that they keep putting more ideas into, the more money it gets, and there's no end in sight. So was there anything else you wanted to say? There's like more to the conference, but I'll let you interject.
With most games, I would definitely say probably what they should be doing is just shutting the fuck up. They have enough money. They should shut the fuck up, buckle down, and finish the game. At least like the flying element of the game. But at the same time, I get that they kind of want to make an entire functioning universe with multiple facets where you can go down to the planets. There's a first person element to it. There's like an actual flying element to it. They want trade. They want different aspects of trade where you have to hire, protection. They're with pirates and all that. And that's a huge complex system. So it's probably going to take them a long time to produce. And that's why they're trying to remain open and all that. So I guess I feel like I'm kind of in the middle here, or I get what you're saying, where it's like they should be doing something more to make the game come out. It just sounds like part of the reason why Star Citizen has so much of this hype isn't because it's just a space game. I mean, it might have started out as that for like the initial core that you might include yourself in, but it's gained all this extra hype because of the extra systems, I think, that are going into it, because they're trying to make such a huge project. So it's kind of, up in the air, but I do get the feeling that no matter what happens, this game is going to be super disappointing.
You see, I don't know about that because I didn't realize how insanely devoted the fan base actually was. I'm not just talking about the people who spent thousands on the game. I mean, you just go to any of the critique videos of Star Citizen and it's just being flooded with people saying, you don't know anything. This game's going to be amazing. Everything they've shown has been amazing. You're just trying to hate it. You're just a bunch of haters. So in this conference, the footage that they showed at the end was a man flying a starship, landing on a planet, getting in a little car, driving off and like off-roading. And, they're talking about how basically this whole game is going to be No Man's Sky, except not dog shit, as in like the planets they're building is procedural, but they're also like handcrafting things on the planets.
Oh my God.
And they're like talking about, same things that No Man's Sky was saying, like, that's not a skybox. That's actually space. Those are actual planets. Those are actual stars. And it's like, I've heard all this before, and this sounds more believable, and there's like more science behind it, but it's just like, this is getting harder and harder to swallow. And then another thing about the sequence they showed is the whole thing was scripted because he started driving through this little valley and then he got attacked by these pirates. And then he got out and it showed the first-person shooter gunplay. It looks pretty much on par with a Battlefield game. They got back in the car, drove up, and then found this little outpost. Eventually gets to the top and sees these raiders on speeder bikes coming towards him, and he starts trying to snipe them. And then this massive, humongous sandworm thing just explodes into the ground and eats all of them, and it's fucking humongous. It's huge. It was fucking amazing. It was just like my jaw hit the fucking floor when this was playing out. Like, if this is legit, this game is going to be fucking incredible. And that's why everyone's going so crazy for this game, is because they keep showing this shit that's just amazing. But then it's like, but wait, that was scripted, wasn't it? That wasn't actual real gameplay. How much legitimacy is behind this? Is this complete yet? Did they just like slap this all together like the Duke Nukem Forever trailer in 2001? Like, I don't know. It's like I've been in the center like you through this whole experience, but after this CitizenCon, after seeing how rabid insane the fan base is getting and how more and more serious the criticisms against it are getting, I'm going farther and farther into the, okay, what the fuck are you guys actually doing category. Like, it's just getting harder and harder to believe. And as they delay it more and more, I'm getting less and less patient and more skeptical. And it's like, I'm just kind of getting to this point where like, is there even going to be a game ever put out? Is the entire structure of how they're going to release it could be something completely new? Like, I don't.
Buy each module of the game for $60.
I don't know. There was an ad in the middle of the conference for a new ship that you can donate for like $1,000-something, and
that bugs the fuck out of me.
Yeah, and they see like stuff like that. It's just more and more. It's like this is like being brought into some sort of church setting and being encouraged to donate to offerings and like
right. We're passing around the plate.
Yeah, and like what Chris came out and said about that video, he's like, no, I don't want anyone to think you need to have these ships at launch. Anyone will be able to come into this game and start from zero and earn all these in-game. But if you want to give to the development process, this is just a little reward back to you. But that's not how it looks in the fucking commercial you just showed. It looks like, you want this ship? You need this ship. Give us money early and get this ship with all your friends and be a badass. It's so insidious, and more and more I'm thinking this just feels wrong. You guys need to just put a fucking game out sooner or later, a beta or something, just something. This hype needs to stop at some point, and actual gameplay needs to make it out. But then when you go and watch videos of the community that are looking forward to the game, all of it's blind optimism, and it's gonna be ugly whichever way this turns out. I would not be surprised if people get murdered over this game. No Man's Sky was a very, very, very wide-scale disappointment, but I don't even think the people who are expecting No Man's Sky to be the last game they'd ever have to play were nearly as devoted as Star Citizen backers.
Nor is the burn going to be as huge. I mean, No Man's Sky was $60. This game is upwards of like $5,000 for a few people. So buyer's remorse is going to be out in spades for them.
Final note, I didn't know this, but the head of public relations of their company, which is Chris Roberts Rife, also did tickle porn.
Nude or clothed tickle?
Clothed.
Boring.
So last year when she opened up the presentation, she started crying while talking about how significant working on Star Citizen has been for her and how amazing the community has been. She started doing that again this year. She came out and started crying. And like that stuff like that is what I'm just like, what the fuck is this game? Like, it's not even a game anymore. It's like a way of life. It's like Apple fans now. It's Chris Roberts is like the new Steve Jobs. It's like they might make a really cool product, but what the fuck do people actually think this is? What do they think they're spending their money on? It's scary from the outside. I'm starting to get worried. It's no longer like I'm still looking forward to actually playing the game, but I'm starting to get worried about like what kind of other people are going to be playing this game with me.
What I'm trying to think what would be the worst scenario. I think the worst scenario wouldn't be the game is bad, because we've dealt with bad games and depressed, people being depressed before.
Yeah.
I think if the game is just like good, but not like amazingly good, but people are like so fucking invested in it that they become like a cult like force on the internet trying to recruit people. Like WoW players, but 10 times worse kind of thing.
This fan base is full of very, very wealthy, resourceful people. That's why I'm saying if this all blows back on Chris Roberts and he tries to like go into hiding or something, he's probably going to end up getting a hitman sent after him. I would not be surprised. I'm not joking. I honestly fucking think the fan base is that fucking crazy. God, like if the game comes out and it sucks, I'll be like, okay. On a personal note, whatever, saw it coming.
I do have to admit, it's kind of impressive how human beings are willing to fully like dedicate and devote their lives to just about goddamn anything. Like they're desperate for anything to grasp onto.
I understand. Like as I'm watching it, I understand why people want this to all be real. Then a part of me is like, but these people who just jump into it, no questions asked, what the fuck is going on in their lives that have them wanting to just throw everything away for this? It's like a religion or a cult or a religious cult. If you just watch the first couple of minutes of the last conference, you'll know what I'm talking about. Or you can be like, no, these are just really happy, enthusiastic people. You're being an asshole. But to me, this just seems a little more crazy and hysteric than most fan bases get. Even like CSGO players, which are just dumbasses.
Which are just kids with mama's credit card.
I think that's it. The Star Citizen fan base is actually like, it's scientists. It's very wealthy people. It's a higher concentration of very high upper class people than there's ever been with any game before. It's just like this audience I knew there were space simulation fans out there. I just never knew that there were this many of them, that they were this powerful, and that they were this fucking crazy when they want to be. I'm learning a lot from the whole thing. I hope whenever Star Citizen comes out in the next 15 years, it will meet all of the bulletin points he has laid out. I hope the single player is as good as Chris is hyping it up to be. I just cannot fathom how it will. There's just nothing on this scale has ever been attempted before with this little oversight. If it all works out, it will be one of the greatest achievements of mankind. And that's how I can end this whole topic on a high note.
So when the game comes out and it's absolutely goddamn amazing and it's everything they promised, do you want to run a farm planet with me?
Okay.
So that way we can go home from our monotonous jobs log onto our computers and start doing monotonous video game jobs.
Yeah, and maybe if it says, if it's like EVE Online, maybe we could actually start running a black market within the game and make real life money and then never have to work a real day in our life again.
Oh, stop. You're making me horny.
I can go to bars and brag about, I run a interstellar piracy ring.
See, we have a agricultural planet that we use as a front, and when we ship our cargo, we actually supply, black market weapons. It's
like, wait, are you talking about a video game? Like, no, dude, look, like I just made $100,000 last year.
No, like you don't. Video game, you don't understand, do you? You're not. You don't get it.
Video games have transcended into real life. You understand that means Star Citizen would be the Matrix we're talking about?
Oh, that'd be I need it.
All this talk of machines taking over and going and blue pilling ourselves. Star Citizen will be that, and I'm okay with that.
Blue pill, take me.
All right. Did you have any stories you wanted to bring up? Because I got a few more.
Final Fantasy 14 is really fun.
Oh, well, all right. That's good. That's great.
Final Fantasy 14 has FanFest this weekend, and I couldn't go this time, and I'm super sad. So I could be in Vegas right now, but instead I'm up here doing a stupid, shitty podcast with you. And that makes me really upset because we had to save our money for a down payment. Can't go blow it in fucking Vegas.
I had a pretty nice savings going, and then my truck's transmission broke down, and now I'm going into debt. So I'm so happy this week.
Yay.
It's been a very happy week.
Yay.
Also on the subject of off-topic stories, I went into a Jersey Mike's yesterday, and there were people in there. There was like a big line. I thought, oh, good. They're not going to try to converse with me because they're too busy. I go in there and I stand in the back of the line. And this girl who just looks like she just absolutely fucking hates her life, just kind of without even fully making eye contact, is like, hi, how's it going? How's your day? You got any plans this weekend? And I just gave a bunch of really quick, like, yep, nope responses. And she looked like she just absolutely hated herself for asking me these questions and knew I didn't give a fuck. And I started to feel really uncomfortable because I don't think I'm going to go to Jersey Mike's anymore. I fucking hate that policy that they have because it's just like, she's uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. I feel like a dick because I don't want to have this conversation with a person I don't know. And I know she doesn't want to have this conversation with someone she doesn't know. Why are we doing this? It's just fucking, what the fuck?
Do you know where Jersey Mike's comes from? Because this sounds like a really southern thing.
It's from California. Hollywood, I think.
Ugh, okay, that's not the kind of South I was talking about, but California people are kind of, not really, but up here in the Pacific Northwest, they should change their policy for this district. They should know who their target audience is up here.
I did.
We hate other people.
It's like, I wasn't even able to enjoy my sandwich because I was like, as I was eating it later, I'm like, man, I feel so bad. Like, maybe I should have tried to be more cheerful. Maybe I should have tried to cheer her up. Maybe I should have tried to, like, get more. It's just, oh, man. Can you imagine working in a place where every single customer that comes by, you have to ask them questions about their fucking life and try to, like, it's just, oh, man. Jimmy John's for life.
I do love JJ's.
Yeah.
So, because it's like, you just go up there and you're like, yeah, can I get a nightclub with hot peppers?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. That's going to be this much, honey. Give them your card. They swipe it, and you get your card back. And then you walk over there, and you stand there for like 3 seconds, and then they hand you your fucking delicious sandwich. And then you eat it, and you cum a little bit in your pants because it's so goddamn tasty.
And then the next time you come back, you smile and you nod. They're like, yo, what's up? And I'll be like, yo, and I'll take this again. And I'll be like, all right. And then they hand you your sandwich. You go on, and that's their business with Jimmy John's. And it's always good.
You don't know their name. They don't know your name. They don't give a shit how your day's going. All they give a shit about is what kind of fucking sandwich you want. And they give you that sandwich. It's a business exchange.
Whereas Jersey Mike's, it's like, hey, how are things going? Is your wife doing okay? How's your job coming along? How's all this fucking shit? Like, what does this have to do with giving me a fucking sandwich? Holy shit. I want to talk to whoever up at their company thought that this is a good policy and just fucking tell them off. How dare you teach your employees to be friendly and outgoing to me? Fuck you. Fuck friendliness. Fuck happiness.
How many times have we talked about this on the podcast?
Twice now. And
this feels like a little bit. This feels like a little bit more, but yeah, I went
in there and thought, oh, I'm going to be proven wrong. Jersey Mike's is actually going to be just like Jimmy John's. Maybe just the few times I've gone there were the exception. Nope, wasn't. Even when they were not in the mood, even when they had lots of shit keeping them busy, they still had to do it. And just what a terrible company.
I'm just going to go in there and just lie. like tell like a super make my life seem really important when it's not.
You know what would be fun is to be a sociopath and like make up a fake life story for yourself and go in there and try to make yourself,
I'm about to close a big business deal with my internet business company. Oh yeah, we sell custom dog suits. It's like a dog suit for your dog, like tracksuits and stuff, so you can get like really cool internet points. Oh yeah, it's great business, man. Business boom, especially up here. Everybody loves to put their dogs in dog suits. We're thinking about opening up business to cats. I personally don't like cats, but my fiscal advisor, he's telling me that's like a smart market to branch into. I'm talking to some people over in Russia.
Fuck yeah. I think we're trying to fool ourselves now. All right, I guess I got an actual video game topic then. This is actually a cool one, very cool. But before I get to it, I'll preface. You remember how Sony announced that there was going to be a wireless dongle for the PC?
Yeah, you said dongle.
Yes, dongle.
Yes.
Yes. So that was only compatible with PlayStation Now. It did not work as just a wireless hub for Windows, as in, it's the reason why I ordered a Bluetooth adapter and had to continue to use DS4 Windows, because the Bluetooth adapter Sony put out only works with their software, which is kind of dumb, but I guess it's not really their fault because Microsoft would have to support the DualShock 4 for it to get its own official drivers, I think. I don't know. Maybe Sony could do that. I don't know how these things work. Anyway, Valve announced that Steam's API will now support the DualShock 4 as a native controller. So they're adding support for the DualShock 4 the same way it supports the Steam OS controller. As in, you'll be able to just sync it up, your computer will detect it, Steam will detect it, and you'll be able to customize the button layouts on the DualShock 4. And it'll work with all of Steam's games.
That is super fucking cool.
It is super fucking cool. No more wrestling with DS4 Windows to get Dark Souls 3 to work.
I love you, Valve. Take more of my money.
Same. I felt like, man, it is so great when Valve does something awesome like this. It reminds me why I used to love them so much. Good move. And thank God. It doesn't really help for, emulating and playing games outside of Steam, but it's a good start. Maybe it will motivate Microsoft to do something about it, or Sony to do something about it.
Yeah, right. Microsoft wants you to go out and buy an Xbox controller.
I know. They'll never do it. Could, in theory, Sony... they could release drivers for Windows, but you'd have to just download it from them, right? But then you'd be able to get the controller to work natively, like an Xbox controller X input or something.
Potentially, I
don't know technical shit. I'm not a fucking genius. You should not be listening to this podcast if you want informed opinions. That's not what this is about. I'm just glad that I can use my DualShock 4 with Steam games now. That's great.
Yeah, that's like, especially, like you said, Dark Souls 3. I remember trying to get fucking my PlayStation 4 controller to run with that. I didn't have much of a problem with my PlayStation 3 controller and Dark Souls 2, but getting my PlayStation 4 controller and Dark Souls 3 to interact was so fucking hit or miss that this news makes me really happy.
It makes me really happy, too. I'm so happy.
Can you be a little less happy?
Okay, here's another story. For Honor will not have split screen support, something that they initially promised at the announcement of the game.
That's really disappointing because as soon as For Honor was announced and I knew how the combat system was going to work, I always saw it as basically just a 3D AAA Nidhogg. And the reason why Nidhogg is good is because of the couch multiplayer. Taking away the couch multiplayer is a bad choice.
And when I first looked at it, I thought, I don't even know what this is. It did nothing for me when I was just looking at footage. But then when you described it as that to me, I thought, oh, okay, now I get it. That sounds cool. And yes, that just doesn't sound nearly as exciting playing over the internet with a friend as on the same fucking couch. And I get there's going to be a lot more graphical shit going on than in a game like Nidhogg. But still, why does couch multiplayer only get done really well in games that are exclusively designed for it now? Why can't AAA games, with all this money and development power, put some decent couch multiplayer into their fucking games anymore?
I think it's because they either know or they think they know graphics sell. People are more likely to buy a game if it has graphics that look good and stand out. And if you have to cut couch multiplayer to get graphics, that's what you have to do. Because people aren't going to pick up the box and read, oh, couch multiplayer, and then buy the game. They're more likely to pick up the box or look at screenshots online and be like, this game looks beautiful. It looks like really cool. It has pirates and samurai knights. It's awesome. Not, oh, this game has couch multiplayer. In my opinion, I'd be way more likely to buy. And I'll be honest, they might have lost a sale for me. Like I said, I'm trying to get my own place. And if I could get a nice area set up, I'd want a lot of cool, couch multiplayer games for my friends to come over and play with me so I don't feel so, alone and pathetic.
You were wrong to think that was ever going to happen. You're always going to be alone. I'm always going to be alone. And we're both always going to be alone together.
Yep.
Every time I talk and I look at this avatar I have, it reflects what I'm saying inside so much. The eyes specifically. The mean, angry, tired, fuck everything pair of eyes. And this retracting turtle who just wants to blow things up. I want to become a turtle.
A turtle would be kind of cool.
My wife won't let me get a turtle. Because she doesn't like turtles. She doesn't like reptiles. The only fucking animal she likes are cats. On a side note, have you ever seen a turtle penis?
I'm going to Google it right now.
They're fucking terrifying. I only watched this because someone sent me a video of a turtle trying to fuck a ball, and it kind of scarred me at first. Are you actually looking right now?
I'm looking right now. It's so slimy.
I know. It's like a suction cup thing. It looks like a fucking like mushroom or something. It's just it's fucked up. It's fucked up.
Okay, what's funny is when you Google turtle penis, you get pictures of turtle penis. When you Google, or I should say being, you get Rule 34 of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Venus. Who was the female Ninja Turtle. Oh, and then you get April O'Neil being gangbanged by the Turtles, which is canon, by the way.
I'm sure.
This is
I told
impressive.
myself we weren't going to have any porn tangents anymore, but we do it every week now.
Bullshit!
Remember when we used to do it and it was like, oh, we're doing this again. Isn't that funny? Now we don't even care. Well, I got only really one more story to talk about.
Jesus Christ, that's a tiny penis.
There were 2 releases by 2K Games recently. One was the Bioshock Collection. One was Mafia 3 as of last week. Mafia 3 released on PC, locked at 30 FPS, and with a shit ton of bugs and glitches, and the port overall was just all kinds of fucked up.
And if I remember right, the devs were really up talking Mafia 3 too. So
yes, and there's been comparison videos to Mafia 2, where Mafia 2 looks like a way more stable and graphically impressive game than Mafia 3. And so it's just been another situation of what the fuck is this? However, I was kind of impressed. Nate apparently bought Mafia 3 and managed to install it and got it running, I don't know, on just low settings or whatever on his laptop. I was about to advise him, the game probably isn't going to run on your laptop because it's been optimized like shit, but he got it to work somehow. I don't know how steady of the frame rate, but I guess it's functional. And apparently they just finally patched it so that it's unlocked from 30 FPS, and I don't know what the limit is, but it'll at least do 60 now. I don't get why you would release a game like that and just patch it a week later. Why not just release the PC port a week later and have the fucking frame rate working right?
Yeah, a lot of people who's going to buy things for PC specifically look at things like FPS caps. With a game like Mafia 3, having above 60 isn't really necessary, but having it locked at exactly 30 for any kind of PC game nowadays is really not good.
Well, on PC, really, it's just the more accessibility, the better. You'll always find a PC owner even crazier than the last who will want like fucking 300-something frames per second and will be disappointed when a game doesn't support it. But on PC, when you don't even have like the bare standard, like 60 FPS is what I would call the bare minimum on a PC. Like, that's just like, and then when you've patched it a week later, it's like, why didn't you just wait a week? Because now your page has tons of negative reviews. Yep. Was it like a publisher thing? Did they have to rush it because they think it was going to, it might have had something to do with like Battlefield 1 coming out next week, I think. And then, Gears of War and all these other, like maybe they thought like they really have to get this game out right now. Otherwise it's going to get missed and no one's going to buy it on launch. I don't know. There must have been some kind of business reason why they did it this way. I just think it's amazing that they patched it so short after releasing it, but they bothered to release it this way in the first place. And I'm sure the game is still fucked up in tons of ways, but at least the frame rate is acceptable. That's the biggest reason I get PC ports of games, is just to have a smoother frame rate. But also the Bioshock collection has also apparently had a bunch of problems. I think it came without a field of view slider, which is one way. That's another thing on next to frame rate. Field of view is another thing that PC players really like to have, because when you have a console field of view, I think the field of view on like Call of Duty on consoles is like 65. And I think Modern Warfare 3, for instance, released locked at 65 on PC. People were fucking pissed because that gives people motion sickness. When your face is right in front of a monitor, you want to have a higher field of view on top of just, being able to see better in the game. It's a critical component. And apparently that just got patched into the Bioshock collection. But it's like, what the fuck is up with these PC ports coming out unfinished?
I think it's because they just underestimate that market. They don't really care about that market. They feel like they need to focus on console, which is weird considering that the consoles themselves this cycle was like, oh, we can't invest too heavily in the consoles. Consoles are dying. And then they still make shitty PC ports. It doesn't really track. But that's the world we live in.
And whenever it happens, it seems to just happen like, it seemed like last year it was WB releasing tons of shitty ports, and now they're trying to clean up their act. Now it's 2K. So, and I guess we'll find out with Battlefield 1 what happens, and the last couple Call of Duty ports have been terrible on PC. So Activision...
Battlefield's going to be god-awful on every platform at first. The
question is, will it be worse than Battlefield 4? Because if it is, that will be fucking hilarious.
I think it's going to be just as bad as Battlefield 4, because I think people are going to find out that it's just Battlefield 4.
Which, to this day, still has tons of bugs. I mean, I guess that's what it took them a year just to get the servers working partially right, and then they never fixed all the glitches. It was just a nonstop array of glitches. It's like they didn't do any sort of debugging while developing the game at all. It was just... what the fuck? Anyway... I guess one positive thing I noted, because at first I thought, oh, that's so shitty that they released remastered versions of Bioshock on PC. It turns out you and I both own them. They released for free for owners of Bioshock on Steam. So,
yay!
Yeah, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I don't really care that they're going to fix it down the road, because it was...
right. I do have Bioshock Remastered and Bioshock 2 Remastered. Holy shit.
I would have complained, why didn't you just update the game? That's always been my complaint when they do this on the PC, is they should give this to free for owners on PC, because this is just standard that you update the games. And they actually did that.
And it has achievements! It has achievements! I don't really don't care about achievements.
I didn't think so. I don't either on the PC, especially. But yes, I guess that's good. It's nice that for once a publisher got the memo. At least in that regard, they understood the PC user base that much. I mean, I don't know how much longer PC gamers are going to continue to complain about those things, because it just seems more and more. There's just been a lot of fucking dick writers who just back whatever shitty ports that come out and back the publishers and the developers. And I always thought the PC would be the last bastion of people who actually demand standards and won't cave into stupid fucking shit like paid mods. But with how accessible PCs are getting and how many people are getting PCs to play League of Legends and Dota and Counter-Strike, I'm going to think that's more likely than not going to become the case eventually. But at least for now, we can be happy that 2K did the right thing by releasing Bioshock Remastered for free. I like it when I can try to end things on high notes. Yeah. High notes. High notes are good. I like high notes. Are there any high notes you have right now?
Not really a high note, but it's a article I read earlier in the week, actually, that I just remembered that I thought was kind of interesting. John Carmack, the John Carmack, who's working on Oculus Rift, did an interview, and during the interview, he basically said that VR devs are coasting on novelty, that there's not really a huge market of people who buy VR headsets. So developers for games don't want to waste a lot of development time making VR games. So that's why most VR games, like the Batman one and the Star Wars one, are like really short. And most of the games are just like little mini games. There's no real VR games yet. And you're kind of in this like stasis where, because there's no real VR games, people aren't buying the headsets. And because people aren't buying the headsets, devs aren't making real VR VR games.
Well, he's absolutely right. It's because the VR headsets are too expensive.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Definitely. It's not so much the price of the VR headset itself, too. For me, it's also the fact that if I wanted to, I'd have to basically buy a better GPU. I have a pretty good... It used to be a little bit high-end GPU. I'd say it's now an average GPU, and it cannot run VR very well. If I want to buy VR, I need to go out and buy a GPU specifically for VR, which just adds like another $400 to the purchase price of a headset.
I don't even know if my next one will, at least even competently, because I think it's still going to be a few years until it's like just a standard GPU will be able to handle VR efficiently.
If you're building a PC and you want it to handle VR, you need to specifically look for GPUs that handle VR. Just because it's a new GPU does not mean it can handle VR.
It seems like major publishers and industry leaders are throwing all their cards in with VR. They all seem to think it's going to be the next big thing, but it makes sense why it's all just novelty right now, because only the richest people have it. It's still in the show and tell phase.
Actually, I don't really think people are really throwing in everything into VR. I think the only people that it seems to be Sony with the PlayStation VR headset. And, like Resident Evil 7, like those seem to be like the only real VR things coming out.
Sony, yeah, okay, yeah. Sony would be probably the biggest backer. It seems like a lot of PC developers, though, are at least trying to integrate some kind of VR support to their games, but it's never like the games are developed for the VR.
Right.
And for what I'm told, the games that don't develop specifically for the VR don't make good VR games.
Well, I'd imagine. I mean, outside of like a cockpit game, as in a first-person racing simulator or a first-person space simulator, or flight sim. Those are like the only games I think would be a very easy transition into VR. Most games, it'd be a fucking nightmare to transition into VR or completely pointless.
I'm just disappointed that all the novelty games that are on Steam right now for the HTC Vive are like Wii games. Just like
pretty much.
Target practice and like walking sims and just dumb shit like that.
I've heard of some really good ones like a Junkrat shooter or something like that.
I've seen that one. Yeah.
Which, I mean, I've seen it too, and it looks like a lot of fun. And that's like comes into my another problem is I've seen these games. I've never played these games. And with new hardware, if they want me to go out and buy an HTC Vive, I want to be able to go to a store and play games on an HTC Vive before I throw money down on that. Because it's an investment, and it's an investment in something that I've never had firsthand experience.
Are there any VR games that aren't tech demos yet?
Oh, wow. I pretty much think every VR game is either really super short, like the Batman game, or it's pretty much, like you said, a Wii game.
The ones that I would say that aren't technically a tech demo are the endless score-based shooting gallery games, and most of those are still like in early access. So there hasn't been like an experience developed for VR yet that's like I really
think the first one's going to be Resident Evil 7.
So do I. That seems like the first full-fledged, first AAA game to have like very serious VR support that's not going to just be a gimmick. I mean, but maybe it will be. Maybe it'll be terrible. I mean, I heard that the VR that they showed at E3 was not as good as other VR demos, or just wasn't as impressive as other things on VR right now. But to say that that's coming to a console game and it's going to supposedly be able to play the whole game with that option, that's something. That's a good start.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine that Resident Evil 7's VR is going to be on par with a much shorter game. Like, the more experienced ones like the Star Wars, Batman, like experience things. Because those things are so short that they can have a small dev team, like, knock them out. But with something like Resident Evil 7, when you have an actual game that's going to have a full game length, I'd imagine you're going to have to make a sacrifice. And the sacrifice is either going to be development time or the VR is just not going to look as good. Personally, I really do want VR to take off. But like I said, it's like in a few years when I build my next PC, I probably will look for a GPU that can run VR. But I imagine in those 2 years from now, pretty much it might be more of a standard to have every GPU be able to run VR. So it'd be easier for me to buy it. But at the same time, too, like I said, as long as there's no easy way for me to demo this stuff before I buy new hardware, I don't know if I will until like a friend gets it. Kyle.
Yeah. And I'm serious. I want my VR virginity to be taken by something great. I don't want something shitty or gimmicky. I want some mind-blowing experience that's gonna.
And I really want. That's the other thing too is, we need more porn games on the VR headset.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
when I said my mind to be blown, I wasn't talking about my mind.
I've seen pictures of Waifu Simulator, and it's like, while I appreciate the effort, I'm not into that kind of art style. I want something more meaty. Because have you seen pictures of Waifu Simulator?
I think I have. I just can't remember.
Everything's kind of it's like that slight chibi-esque kind of look to it, like really slender limbs and everything. It's like it looks like the new Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball,
yeah.
Not Dragon Ball Z, but Dragon Ball Super Dragon Ball, whatever the fuck.
Dragon Ball Super, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I hate the new art style. Like that's my biggest pet. I cannot get into Dragon Ball Super because of the art style. I do not like the bigger heads and smaller bodies, especially in a fucking shonen anime was about two dudes beating the ever-living fuck out of each other.
Yeah.
I like the old art style. And on top of that, I noticed it's something that's happening a lot more. I don't watch nearly as much anime as I used to. And part of that is every time I watch an anime, I have a really hard time getting into it because there's so much CG and they do all this like really clean, shiny, bright look in every anime that I just cannot stand. And that is all over Dragon Ball Super.
I know. I know. I actually made the effort to watch an anime recently, thinking, I need something to watch, something to just take my mind off things. Maybe I'll give an anime a try. Maybe one that people have really mixed opinions about, because it'll be funny to have like my own opinion. So I sat down and tried to watch the first episode of Attack on Titan. I couldn't even make it through the first minute. I started skipping through it and was like, wait, no, this looks like fucking shit. Like, this looks dumb as fuck. Like my wife, what she does, I don't know. It goes back to what I was saying about reality TV, is how we love to just expose ourselves to garbage. So for some reason, she likes to just watch shitty anime, and she doesn't enjoy it. She just criticizes it and talks about how shitty it is and how bad the art style is. And I've watched so much shitty anime with her now. It's like, who fucking watches this crap, and why is it so crappy? Why can't they make things like Cowboy Bebop anymore?
This is a big reason why when I partake in this stuff, I usually read the manga, because manga is hand-drawn by the actual artist. So I appreciate that a lot more than shitty-looking anime. But if you want to watch a new anime, I cannot recommend One Punch Man enough. It is amazing.
That is the one that I was thinking actually looks really good.
It is amazingly good. It just got greenlit for season 2. It is awesome. It's unlike, yet at the same time, exactly like every other anime out there, because it's like the bullshit parts they know are bullshit, so they just make it even more bullshit and goofy, so it's kind of funny. But then the part you want to see in a shonen, where it's, two dudes beating the ever-living shit out of each other, they make those parts look epic and fucking amazing.
Cool.
So definitely fucking recommend One Punch Man. I think the other most recent anime I like before that is Code Geass, which is now quite a few years old.
Yeah.
And then even before that is like Death Note. So it's like, cool. I really don't care for modern anime anymore.
You ever seen Legend of the Galactic Heroes?
I don't think I have.
I wanted to watch that. I heard it's been described as what Gundam always wished it could be.
That is a really good description.
It looks pretty cool.
It does look. Oh wow, I like the art style of the stills, at least. And this looks like old school Gundam and what's that other one? Macross. It looks a lot like Macross.
I get more antsy talking about anime than actual porn, because anime fans are legitimately fucking insane. If we ever had an anime fan listening to this podcast, they'd probably go fucking ballistic when they hear us try to express our opinions.
Well, I know our friend, he talked up one anime called Gate a lot, and I watched the first first episode of Gate.
Yeah,
I pretty much had the same reaction to that you had to Attack on Titan. Like, this is shit. I hate the bright, clean look. The fucking pacing is all over the goddamn place. I could not watch an entire season of this shit.
Yeah, I know of Gate.
It
had such an amazing concept, but it's actually shit. Yeah, I know.
It's like they took like an amazing premise and they're like, now let's turn it into a shitty harem anime.
That's all anime is now, is harem animes.
And they're not even as good as the original, which I'm sure it's not the original, but it's my original, and that's Tenchi Muyo. As soon as Tenchi Muyo came out, they could just stop making harem animes, because there's no point.
That's true. Apparently, like, also 90% of modern animes is just cute girls doing cute things who never get boyfriends because that would offend their audience.
Yeah, I've heard that. That's like a huge thing with like J-pop and K-pop stars, is they have to be like not overtly, but very, very sexually suggestive while maintaining that cute fantasy, yet they can never have a relationship, because as soon as they do, they're no longer pure. But they still have to act really nasty while being all cute.
Japan is fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I like them. I took a quiz once that said, what's your inner nationality? I don't know. It was some fucking crazy weird quiz, but basically it told me I was Japanese internally.
Nice.
That actually makes sense in so many ways. I'm an Asian in a white man's body. I can go tell people I'm Asian. I can tell people that I identify as Asian. Sweet. You should take a quiz like that. Maybe it'll say like you're Russian or something.
I think I did. It told me I was like Swedish, I think.
Oh. Okay, well, Viking maybe?
No, I think it was because I was so antisocial.
Okay. To bring it all back to what you initially said, the reason I haven't started watching the new Dragon Ball series is because of the art style. And every time I look at it, I'm like, that's not Dragon Ball.
Yeah, exactly.
What is that shit? Is it Toei Animation that does it, or is it someone else?
I think so, yeah.
I heard it's their B team that's been animating that series, and that's why it looks so unimpressive. Because apparently all the anime studios have like their A team and their B teams and their D teams, and Dragon Ball doesn't have their best people working on it.
But the thing is, like, they're doing the anime, but they're also doing a manga to go along with it. And even in the manga, which is drawn by Akira Toriyama, I still hate the new art style. I do not like Akira Toriyama's new art style where he gives people just these fucking tiny bodies. It does not look good.
No,
it does not look like Dragon Ball.
When you go back and look at old Dragon Ball and they're just like fucking walking hulks of flesh, it's fucking awesome. And watching them beat the shit out of each other like that and watching their muscles like fucking flexing as they're like slamming each other face is just like the ultimate power fantasy. And now it's like, yeah, Goku looks like a fucking vegan. And I hated that in the movies. Even though I like the movies, I just fucking like, why, yeah.
And it's really annoying because I like what the current future arc is doing because they go to the future with Future Trunks.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And they do cool stuff. And they talk about how Future Trunks was able to defeat Boo and all that. But every time I've been reading the manga, and it's like every time I read it, though, I'm like, that's not Goku. That does not look like Goku. That looks like a fan drew Goku.
Make DBZ great again.
No joke.
Oh, sorry. Make Dragon Ball great again. Because I said DBZ. DBZ wasn't the original. Like,
yeah.
Fucking normies.
Dragon Ball Z Abridged is the best version of Dragon Ball. Come at me.
A lot of people hold that opinion.
Yeah, it is. Sadly, it's still going to do the one thing that annoys me the most about Dragon Ball at the end of the Cell Saga, and that's the only characters that are relevant are Vegeta and Goku. So, I hate that about Buu Saga and everything past it, everything in GT, everything in Super Dragon Ball, that just fucking annoys the shit out of me. At least you're in Cell Saga, in the Android Saga, like, Piccolo mattered. Tien mattered. Krillin mattered. Gohan very much mattered. Buu Saga? No. It's just Vegeta, it's just Goku. It's Gotenks for like all of 30 seconds. And even Gohan, like Gohan shows up and you're like, oh fuck, Gohan, oh my god, oh, he got eaten. Never mind.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how the other characters would just show up for cameos and they get tossed around to ragdolls and GT and stuff. I liked Resurrection of F just because they made some of those characters useful for a little bit before tossing them.
Yeah, even Master Roshi got like to do a little bit.
It was great. Good fan service. Anyway, well, we've been going on for about an hour, so maybe it's time to wrap it up.
Yeah, I think now's the time. So, if you've listened to this podcast or any of our podcasts, sincerely thank you. If you think our taste in anime is shit, go fuck yourself.
I think everyone's taste in anime is shit because that seems to be the consensus I've learned from how everyone communicates about anime.
Never ever say your top 5 favorite anime because people will end up be like, you have a shit taste in anime. Like, that's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm going to say this right now. I like Samurai Champloo more than I like Cowboy Bebop. Okay.
All right. You hold that opinion. Well, let me one you up. My favorite anime of all time is Dragon Ball Z. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
As long as you can have that opinion as long as you can also acknowledge at the same time that Dragon Ball Z is also kind of shitty.
I'll acknowledge that everybody who keeps reminding me of that are really. If there's one opinion that has been stated into the ground is that Dragon Ball was superior, it's like, you know what? That's a fair argument. Also, shut the fuck up. I'm so fucking tired of hearing it.
Oh, it depends on what you get out of it. If Dragon Ball is superior, the only problem I have with Dragon Ball Z Kai totally fixed it, kind of. The problem I had with the original Dragon Ball Z is the pacing was fucking awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's part of the reason why the Dragon Ball Z Abridged is better, is because it doesn't have a pace problem.
There's like this contrast where you look at Dragon Ball and then you look at Dragon Ball GT, and then DBZ kind of was like where it transformed into that along the way. So I guess the vast majority of DBZ was where it was enemy of the week, like fucking 30 episodes of them fighting the same battle. But GT was where it just came down to such a fucking boring formulaic bullshit fest, whereas Dragon Ball was like an adventure and it was constantly something new. And I liked the first couple Dragon Ball Z movies where, yes, it did end with Goku fighting the bad guy, but all the other characters were involved and there was always some like semblance of an adventure going on, like the World's Strongest. I loved that one.
World's Strongest, Lord Slug, and Tree of Might.
Yeah.
Those were good because Piccolo helped and did shit.
Those were all awesome. Yeah.
And I think even the first Cooler movie had that too.
Yeah. Personally, I like the second Cooler movie. I think you hated that one, didn't you?
Yeah, I do not like the second Cooler movie.
I like that one because it was just a good buddy movie with Goku and Vegeta in the first fight. Everything after the initial fight where they're fighting like 100 Coolers, where they wake up in that giant fucking factory. I hated all of that, and I hated how that got resolved. But
yeah, I get what you're saying, but the resolution to the second Cooler movie was terrible.
I know that. I just like the fight where Goku and Vegeta are fighting together and bantering and beating up the millions of Coolers. But then I think the first Brawly movie was not nearly as good as everybody said, but it was kind of okay. And then
Bio Brawly.
No, the first bullet. The
No,
first.
but what about Bio Brawly?
That's the fucking worst piece of Dragon Ball Z ever made. Fuck that.
I haven't seen Bio Brawly.
They
So.
fucking showed that shit in theaters in Japan. If I fucking did that, I would have ripped my fucking eyeballs out.
I think conceptually Brawly's cool, but I do not like how the first Brawly movie, where they just like hold out their hands and somehow
That's horrible.
They've never done it, and they've never done it since, but somehow they all gave their power to Goku.
I guess what I'll say, I kind of liked the American dubbing of that movie because they used a lot of like alternative rock and very small bands and kind of made this weird like. You watched it with me that one time when we were living together, didn't you? Where you came down?
I watched. Yes, I did.
Yeah, they had kind of a cool like sound design for that movie.
Did they have like drowning pool and stuff in that?
Well, that was before that. They used much smaller bands and they got a little more creative, I guess. There's a lot more like alternative rock in it. But when they brought that movie to the U.S., they tried really hard to make it live up, even though the actual source material was never that good to begin with. But I just kind of admired it, like how iconic that was. But then every single movie after that was just fucking horseshit. Wow. We've gone full anime this episode.
Oh yeah, okay. So they had. Wow, you're right. I do not. I only recognize one band name off of this. They had Tendril, Elgato, Brave Combo, Pointy Shoe Factory, Dosu, The Aleph, Slow Roosevelt, Spoonfed Tribe, Doko Demo Doa, and then Pantera with Tens, which is an awesome song. I think that fight happens when that song happens when Brawly's kicking the shit out of everybody, is when they play Pantera.
I'll have to look it up because found like two of the bands that you just named and found some of the music. And yeah. And like I found like the Twitter page to the Pointy Shoe Factory and they're like they have like no followers. They got like nobody. I was like, holy fuck, you guys were in a fucking Dragon Ball Z movie and no one knows who you are.
And I just looked at the list of when all the movies were released. All the movies we named were basically one after the other. And then the first movie we said that was shit, which is Return of Cooler. After that is when they're like all kind of turn into shitty.
Yeah. No, yeah. No, I think the first Cooler movie was the last like arguably good one.
Right. Because it's Return of Cooler, Super Android 13, which kind of has like the old stuff, but
it had the novelty of being the first movie that had 3 Super Saiyans in it, and it was so fucking everything up to it was so boring. It was just I fuck that movie. I fucking hate that one.
Then it had the first Broly movie. Then it had BoJack, which I hated the BoJack
I hated
movie
that one too, yeah.
Because it was just going, I can't go Super Saiyan anymore for some fucking reason. Daddy.
Do you remember the scene where I think it was Tien and Yamcha show up and then they get knocked off screen and you never see them again?
Yep.
That was wonderful.
Okay, here's a movie. Here's one of the DBZ movies that's a later one that I actually think is pretty good. Fusion Reborn.
Yeah, that's the one with Janeba, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I like that one too.
So, and then it's like Wrath of Dragon, which if I only saw it on YouTube. I think Wrath of Dragon isn't even like a real movie. It's just basically Goku fights Godzilla.
I've never actually seen that one. That's the one I have not seen.
For what it is, it's not bad, but it's not a real thing. It's not like it's like a fun, shitty thing they just kind of threw together almost.
I kind of gathered that. I just know he uses the Super Dragon Fist, whatever, attack at the end.
Right, and he punches through the Godzilla.
Yeah. And then that attack showed up in the Budokai games, which was always really cool. That was like his ultimate strongest attack. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never watched the special that they made for GT where it was like Goku's great-grandson or something like that.
Oh, yeah, I've never seen
it was Pan's grandson, so it would have been Goku's great grandson or something. I don't know.
Right.
And then he fights like great great grandson Vegeta or something at the end. That sounded kind of cute, and that was where Dragon Ball ended for like years until they revived it. But that was weird. Okay, well I think I got all the Dragon Balls out of me for now. Gotta stroke my Dragon Balls every now and then. We know so much about anime. We'll talk about Dragon Ball every fucking week.
It's funny, yeah. It's just an eventuality that if we bring up other anime eventually, it will come back to DBZ.
Yeah.
But DBZ established so many cool things that show up in other anime. It established the whole, like...
When everyone starts bitching about how bad Dragon Ball Z is compared to other animes, it's like, I understand what you're saying, but shut the fuck up. Like,
you gotta remember...
Like, it's junk. I don't give a shit. It was fucking monumental junk, and it was fun, so fuck off. Like, oh yes, I saw Gurren Lagann 2. It's overrated. It's good. But seriously, there are people talk about it like it's like the most uplifting, greatest thing ever made. It's like, no, it's kind of stupid at the end, but yes, it's good. But when people are like, oh, it's like Dragon Ball is like shit to your compared to things like Gurren Lagann, it's like, oh, fuck, all of you get off your high horses. Fuck
Gurren
you all.
Lagann is amazing, and it would probably make my like top 5 or top 10 list.
Same with me.
But Dragon Ball's original run, DBZ's original run was 89 to 96. Gurren Lagann was 2007.
Yeah.
11 years later. That's why Gurren Lagann looks so much better. That's why the storytelling is so much better. Is because anime made a huge jump in that time. Like DBZ was groundbreaking, whereas like fucking Gurren Lagann came out at the same time where a ton of other really cool animes were coming out. And don't get me wrong, Gurren Lagann's fucking amazing.
It's probably my second favorite. I haven't seen that many animes, and Gurren Lagann was kind of just thrown at me by everyone at the time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I watched it. I'm like, yeah, this is great. Why can't there be, like, why are there no animes like Dragon Ball right now in existence? Like, the fact that there is a Dragon Ball anime and I don't want to watch it is even more evidence of, like...
One Punch Man.
Okay, there we go. Sure, I'll get on that.
One Punch Man is my answer to that. And the other thing, too, is I honestly just think anime right now is... Anime is so popular that everybody and everything seems to be making anime over in Japan at the moment, and they're making a lot of shit, mostly.
It kind of seems like the animation studios are owned by their fans, too. As in, they don't want to do anything creative because they have to constantly shove every fan servicey thing into everything they do to make everybody happy.
Which is why every anime takes place in a Japanese high school.
I know. I hate that.
If I watch an anime, there's one anime I watched that was the exception to that, but if I watch an anime and that's the premise, I instantly stop watching. And the only one that was the exception to that was Bleach, and if I remember right, it's because Bleach barely had anything to do with high school. And Bleach, for how shitty it, like, Bleach reminds me a lot of Dragon Ball Z as well, because it's super shitty, but shut up, it's awesome. If you've listened to this episode or any of our episodes, sincerely thank you. And no, my taste in anime is not shit, shut the fuck up. Hey Ryan, where can they find our podcast?
My taste in anime is shit and I don't care. You can find a podcast on explosionofhappiness.com, iTunes, or YouTube.
And thank you very much for listening. Until next week, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Sorry. Yeah. Give me a moment. I'm just going to turn off the mic.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
I've come to talk with you again. We thought this would be entertaining, and it's not. Just like the rest of our lives. You sound tired. Are you tired?
I don't know. I'm more like worried.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was a little kid, power outages were fun because you would just, I don't know, there was nothing to do with like electronics when you're a little kid, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But now it's like my whole life is electronics, so when I have a power outage, I just lay in bed and do nothing.
Well, I'm charging up my DS because I still haven't played Bravely Second, so in case the power goes out, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play Bravely Second. Well,
I'm going to probably play some Ocarina, but, you know, DS is only lasts like 3 hours, so I got my phone charging, got my laptop charging, preparing for the worst. My fear really is that traffic is going to be so bad that if there's nothing to do, we get hungry, and this power outage lasts for multiple days. I'm going to go out and get stuck in traffic or have to go fucking forever before I find a business that's actually running. Like my first couple apartments had like these generators that would pop on as soon as there was an outage. We never had to deal with it. But this place I'm living at now, for some reason, the electricians around here are the most understaffed or something. So there are always like multiple days of waiting before they get to my place. And we're always the last on the queue to help. So it sucks.
Yeah, I know what that's like. I've had to wait 2 weeks before I got in power back. So,
oh God,
yeah, I really don't think it's going to be that bad, but just in case it is.
Yeah. Well, last year's was the worst I've ever seen, I think, in recent memory. I'm just wondering if they're making it sound like it's going to be worse than that, but I don't know.